If want, install the fire water pump. The center line of CPP caisson with jacket caisson pipe not over 25 mm. Caisson pipe installed before fire water pump assembly. Lower the unit carefully to the vertical by means of the lifting tackle. Finish assembly by welding joint. Fire water pump location in cellar deck of platform, near seawater pump unit and LQ hot water reverse osmosis. Before lifting the unit to the vertical position, checks should be made that the following: strainer complete with dosing line diffuser, 3 pump bowls, suction bell mouth pump shaft and the buffer assembly which should be installed between the suction bell mouth and the first pump bowl. Attach the hydraulic unit, column lifting tool C and lifting equipment to the hydraulic unit. Raise the unit carefully to the vertical by means of the lifting tackle, taking care to protect the strainer from damage. Position the unit over the aperture of the pump deck. Lower the assembly, passing the unit through the aperture, ensuring that the dosing line pipework isn't trapped, until the top flange of the second pump bowl is approximately 200 mm above the deck. Position the hydraulic unit support tool left under the bottom flange of the top pump bowl. With the two halves of the support tool securely bolted together, the hydraulic unit can be lowered through the deck aperture such that the weight is transferred to the support tool. Disengage the lifting tackle and remove the lifting tool C. Select the first intermediate column shaft and, if not fitted, locate the coupling key in the bottom keyway and secure using the countersink head screw. Attach column lifting tool C to first column. Whilst in the horizontal position, slide the shaft into the first intermediate column section from the top end. Shaft lifting tool D to the top of the shaft. Check for correct orientation, as each end of the shaft is different. The top of the shaft has a longer machine portion and 2 keyways. Attach protect flange shaft to the end of column. Carefully raise the column section to the vertical. Whilst raising the column, guide the intermediate shaft through the column to engage intermediate shaft lifting tool in the recess in the top of the column. Warning: before continuing, it is advisable to cover the open end of the pump to ensure that any components, accidentally dropped, are not free to fall into the pump or down the well. Position the suspended section over the hydraulic unit and lower carefully until the shaft end is aligned with the pump shaft. Remove protect flange shaft in the end of column. Position the split collar over button ends of the shafts to connect shafts. Take the keyway half of the split muff coupling and position it over the keys. Take the second half of the split muff coupling and offer it up to the first half. Secure the two halves together using the 8-cap head screws with torque 75 Nm. Glue liquid gasket around the root of the spigot on the flange of the top pump bowl. Continue to lower the column section onto the assembled unit such that the holes align in the bottom flange with the holes in the top flange of the top pump bowl. Secure with bolts and nuts with torque 617 Nm. Take the entire weight of the assembled unit onto the lifting equipment to nominally raise the load and remove the hydraulic unit support tool F. Carefully lower the assembled unit through the aperture until the top column flange is approximately 350 mm above the deck. Position the column support tool B under the top flange of the column. With the two halves of the support tool securely bolted together, the unit can be lowered such that the weight is transferred to the support tool. Check that the dosing line pipework is not cut or kinked. Remove the column and intermediate shaft lifting tools. Fit an intermediate bearing sleeve key in the keyway in the intermediate shaft end and pass the intermediate bearing sleeve over the shaft end to entrap the sleeve key. carefully run a bead Hylom or blue liquid gasket around the root of the spigot on the flange of the underside of the bearing housing. Repeat steps until the remaining intermediate columns, intermediate shafts, couplings and bearing housings are fitted. Ensure that the column buffer ring is fitted as shown on the GA drawing. The above steps should result in the hydraulic unit and all of the column sections being fitted together with the pump shaft. The assembly being supported on the underside of the top flange. During installation, fit the pump column buffers onto the second and fifth column sections using the longer screws to attach the buffer ring to the underside of the flange. Fitting the pump column buffers onto the second and fifth column sections using the longer screws to attach the buffer ring to the underside of the flange. All column connection by bolts and nuts with torque 359 Nm. Put the top column with a straight position into the support tool. After that, put the discharge head on top the support tool straight with top column. Pass the head shaft through the discharge head, with the threaded end uppermost. Allow approximately 450 mm of the head shaft to protrude from the bottom of the top column, and fit the head shaft lifting tool and wooden block to the head shaft. Engage lifting gear and lifting lugs and raise the discharge head assembly to the vertical position. Carefully allow the head shaft to pass through the headpiece until the lifting tool rests on the stuffing box location. Assembly discharge head with top column by bolts and nuts with torque 359 Nm. Ensure that the discharge head assembly is in the correct orientation and lower onto the already assembled unit. Secure into position using the screws and nuts. Take the entire weight back onto the lifting equipment, raise a nominal height and remove column support tool B. Carefully lower the complete pump assembly ensuring that the bolting holes in the lower flange of the discharge head and pump support align. Remove tool C and wooden block. Assembly discharge head by bolts. Install the stuffing box using gasket and cap head screws. The gearbox holding down holes are aligned with the tapped holes in the top of the discharge head. Secure the gearbox in position with 8 bolts and plain washers. Remove lifting equipment from the gearbox. Carefully lifting cardan shaft in horizontal position to installation point between gearbox and diesel. Assembly cardan shaft by bolt and nuts. Assembly all connection to ensure all part of the pump was installed.